Hey everybody, you're the Dragon here. Here today to do a little bit of talk about neck knives. Now, today I'm particularly talking about two knives. I'm talking about the ESEE Izula, and I'm going to talk about the Blackjack knives. I believe it's the 155. It's the little neck knife. Just going to give you a couple thoughts and opinions on what I think about them, what I believe their best purpose is. So with that said, I did get an upgraded sheath and upgraded scales for the Izula. I bought the original scales and they were okay, but I found that I preferred the knife connection scales. They definitely feel better in the hand. I also upgraded the sheath. The sheath that they give you is not bad. It's plastic. It comes with a back clip. But on the same aspect, the Kydex sheath, I actually got a really good deal, and I think I paid $5. And let's see if it says who makes it. Sheath Mechanic. It's a little narrower in size, and it fits well with a little ball chain lanyard. So for most cases, I prefer to use this sheath. Now, as far as blade steels, the ESEE Izula uses a 1095 carbon steel, and the Blackjack uses, I believe it's the 154 cm, the crucible steel. You'll notice they're both very similar as far as size. Their cutting edge is very similar. Handle length is similar as well, although they have slightly different curve on the handle. And as you can tell, this one kind of has a little clip point up here. Both have jimping. This one comes with a black coating. This one I got uncoated. Now, as far as the way these knives go, they both definitely have their benefits. Both of them are shaving sharp. I don't think this will necessarily come up on camera. But as far as it goes, I mean, both hold a really good edge. This one comes with a, I believe it's a 30-degree or max 40-degree bevel, and this one is a convex. Now, I did false convex this. What a false convex is I use sandpaper and a mouse pad to kind of take off the hard edge and give it a convex edge, which I do prefer. I think it cuts much better that way, and it's also much easier for me to kind of keep prepped up with the strop. As far as comfort in the hand, as much as they have similar shaped handles, I definitely gotta say the Izula is better. Even without the knife connection scales, when I kind of grip it, it has a relatively good feel. With the scales on this one, this little back curve, I actually would have wished it was more of an upsweep. If I hold it like this, it's really comfortable. But holding it this way, after a while, there's a little bit of fatigue in the hand. Whereas with the Izula, any grip position I use is amazing, and it works very, very well. Well, this one I find more visually attractive for when I usually use neck knives out in the wilderness. It's not as effective as much as this is really good for throwing sparks off of a ferro rod, especially the back here. The back part of the spine right here is really good for using it on a ferro rod. But if I ever needed to baton small wood, this shape, this blade profile isn't the most effective. Whereas the Izula, because it's got just a very subtle drop point, I would be able to kind of do some batoning with this, maybe about inch and a half wood, primarily for busting up kindling. But in an emergency situation, that shape is definitely going to be beneficial. One of the main things people buy the knives for is their cutting performance. And in that regard, the Convex of the Blackjack is a little bit better. This thing cuts really smoothly. I don't have paper in front of me or else I'd show you. But both cut well, but this one definitely just has just a little bit of a keener edge. As far as its profile, it just comes down to just a really nice point. So I found that if I'm around the house, I will go to this knife more rapidly than this knife. So with that said, as I said, I find that they kind of serve different purposes. For work around the house, a utility knife, and occasional hikes, I'll take the Blackjack. For most hikes or backpacking trips where I want to carry just kind of a small fixed neck knife, the Izula is my go-to knife. I also keep the Izula in my car as part of my emergency kit for when I go traveling in the mountains, especially during winter time. I would pretty much bet my life on this knife. So along with all the other things I have in case I get stranded out there, primarily if I get stuck in the snow, this is the knife I keep in the car with me. Now, if the Blackjack would alter the handle just a little bit more, and if I was able to find a version that didn't have this down sweep, this would be like one of my favorite small knives. Even without that, this is definitely a great knife. I use it all the time, but I have to kind of know where they work best. I find this works good as a utility and an EDC blade. This one definitely works better as a wilderness blade. But both of them, I mean, you can't go wrong. The Izula, when you get all the bells and whistles, if you get TKC scales and an upgraded sheath, it can get to about the $70, $80 range. You might be able to find it for less. I'm just kind of guesstimating right now. I've actually had this knife for quite a while. The Blackjack, when you throw on the scales, it's around the same price. It's probably closer to 60. The Blackjack knife comes with a Kydex sheath, which is nice, but I really, I find myself not liking this sheath. It just kind of has a little bit of looseness, so I can kind of move the knife a little bit easier. It doesn't, when it stays in, I've had trouble, especially if I'm carrying something, or there's been times where I've been wearing this around my neck when I've been doing chores around the house, and I picked up my son, and this pulls out a little too easily. Whereas with this sheath, that's a solid lock. It's not coming out unless you really want it to come out. It does have a little push off on the side, although I'll probably heat this up and kind of give it a little thumb so I can kind of push from the top. But this sheath has a solid lock, and even the sheath that comes with it, I mean, it's not coming out unless you want it out. So sheath, even with the plastic sheath, the Izula kind of just barely wins. I like this because it's a very low profile sheath. There's almost nothing there. It's very narrow. But either way, if I was to talk to my friends, I would recommend both knives highly. I mean, if they can put this, the Izula handle on this knife, I would probably carry this knife more, even with this, with a little clip point, and still use it in the wilderness because it cuts so well. It's just a really great knife. It does everything you want and more. But yeah, that's just kind of my quick thoughts. I'll post weights in the little section below in the description. If you guys have any other questions about these knives, feel free to ask me. But thank you very much. Oh yeah, one last thing I'd like to say. If I'm going to be going into wet environments where I'm not going to have the free time to do blade maintenance, I'd also probably take the Blackjack just because it is a stainless steel. It doesn't mean it won't rust, but it means that it just takes less maintenance, whereas with the Izula it's 1095, which means it's a little bit easier to sharpen in the field, but you do have to kind of do maintenance. For me, I usually put chapstick on the blade because it tends to be food safe, and the wax does really prevent water really from, it just beads up and rolls off. I also, if you'll notice on the top here, I use some sandpaper to just kind of take away the coating here towards the back and a little towards the front and a little off the sides here. That's because with the coating, you're not going to be able to strike ferro rod. And even after removing the coating, I'm going to still have to do a little work because it still just doesn't have quite sharp enough of an edge. Whereas with the back right here on the Blackjack, let's see if I can show you with this. I mean, it'll pull away really easily. I mean, I can just shave part of my thumbnail off. Just imagine if that was a ferro rod. Whereas with the Izula, I mean, I can probably use this little back piece right here, but I would not like to use it on the blade. I'll most likely carry something like a Leatherman or a striker that comes with it to kind of use a ferro rod if I'm taking this out. So again, yeah, questions, comments, feel free. I'll try to be putting out some more videos. It's been quite a while since I've been able to put anything out. School's been keeping me busy. But I'll just try to kind of throw up a couple things here and see what you guys have to say. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you guys soon.